So, for a while now, whenever someone has some sort of criticism of the game or addresses an issue, we get a handful of people that ask the question, why are you still here? Or why do you still play the game if you don't like it? Don't get me wrong, I still like the game, otherwise I wouldn't play it. And when I do get tired of it, I just take a break from it for a few days, then come back and I have fun again. But what I wanted to talk about today is why I personally think the community seems to be so much more salty than most other communities. Now, as usual, you don't have to agree with me, or if you don't, please let me know down in the comments. The more constructive criticism we have about this game, the more likely the chances we get a good launch of Season 3 in about a month or so. So the first thing I want to talk about is that the game had so much potential, then it sizzled out. Remember the game when it was enclosed and open beta? I would rush home from work to try and cram in as many hours as I could before the beta's closed. It was addictive, it was fast paced, and it seemed like the only thing people cared about was leveling up to see what gear they would get and to try and kill as many opponents as they could. It brought people who didn't really like fighting games out of their shell into an extremely accessible game where they could win too. Then the game came out, and as everyone started to get better and learn what they were doing, they started seeing the glaring issues the game had. That, on top of the game boiling down to doing the same thing over and over with no variety, and the ridiculous amounts of time to earn steel and gear, people just started leaving. I think that disappointment really left a sour taste in people's mouths. The game was so hyped up that it was the best-selling game in February, and then it just started dying down. That disappointment, paired with the constant news of the game dying, left people upset and feeling like they just wasted at the minimum of $60. Now, if that didn't drive the player away and they decided to stay, there was the balancing issues and disconnects, which are the two biggest problems that are talked about. If you buy a full price game and possibly the season pass on top of that, you want to be able to play the game. Now, luckily, from the very start, I've been very lucky and haven't had to worry about disconnects. But there were a lot of people who did have to deal with this on a daily basis. There were tons of posts on the forums or the subreddits demanding refunds, which is completely understandable, so I can't fault any of you for that. Add on top of that there was no real fix in sight, with the only response being that the game was looking into it, again leaves you with disappointment and For Honor. Speaking of responses, the post-release development hasn't been too good. Sure, we get a whole lot of different skins and taunts and effects, but I've covered my disapproval of the devs and their involvement with the decline of the game, along with the lack of balance, so I won't bore you guys with that again. The last thing I want to talk about though is the release of Season 2. Again, a lot of us were hyped up that this would be what we need to get all of our players back and have some fun again. New characters that were designed to break the turtle meta and give us a reason to pick the game back up, with all the bugs and issues removed. We had that big Season 2 reveal event that had players like Skies and Cypher, I think Cartoons was there, and True Talent, all fighting it out, and somehow managed to double the current player count at that time. Then after that first day or so, we started seeing even more issues, primarily in 4v4. Roaming gank squads, trolling made its way back, Shinobi was sniping people mid-fight, Centurions were grouping up and basically bullying opponents. It was pretty bad. And we started losing all the players that came back immediately. You add all these issues up and you get a salty community. But even with all those problems, the game is still fun to play, as long as you don't play it too much. Anyways, that's all for the video. Again, I try to make these videos as short as I can so that they're not too long and boring. If you agree with me at all on this video or just like the video, feel free to drop a like or sub. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments and tell me what you think is the reason for the salty community, because I want to know your opinion as well. Anyways, I will talk to you guys in the next video.